If you notice, whenever Democrat states begin to panic like this, it's because somebody just turned on the lights in a room they never wanted you to look inside. And so the Trump administration just dropped a massive crackdown on SNAP, requiring tighter work requirements, stricter eligibility rules, and a demand for the states to hand over the names, social security numbers, immigration status, and the benefit records of every single person on their food stamps payroll. But guess who's suing to stop it? The exact same states that swear their programs are clean, transparent, and fraud-free. Case in point, Minnesota. If everything is so honest, why are they fighting this hard to keep the data hidden? As always, guys, the best way we can show you support and that you enjoy the content is by smashing that thumbs up. That tells me you like the video. And subscribe for more breakdowns like this.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke Rollins. This week, we are seeing real action to restore fairness, accountability, and common sense to our food assistance programs. President Trump's vision to restore common sense reforms to SNAP, or food stamps, is moving to its implementation phase. The One Big Beautiful Bill enacted revised work requirements for able-bodied adults between 18 and 64 who receive SNAP, meaning they will be required to work, to volunteer, to train, or even to study at least 80 hours a month to qualify for benefits as a floor. That's 20 hours a week and 4 hours every work day. This is about restoring dignity and responsibility. We're ending a system where some were taking advantage while honest, hardworking Americans foot the bill. As I have pointed out, the data shows clear misuse, deceased individuals still receiving checks, people collecting benefits in multiple states, and so much more. This is unacceptable. And while we're talking about that, to the 21 states who have yet to send us their data, what is it that you are hiding? Let's partner together to defend the taxpayer and make sure that those who are most vulnerable among us are receiving the benefits. There is dignity in work. There is dignity in service to your community. There is dignity in career and technical education. Also, all USDA programs, including SNAP, are continuing to be under significant review to kick off any illegal immigrants receiving federal benefits. That means no more freebies for lawbreakers. Benefits will be preserved for citizens who follow the rules.
That right there is what you call a reality check. Clear, direct, and long overdue because, let's be honest, for a long time, people didn't expect this crackdown to happen. But when the Democrats pulled that shutdown stunt, it forced the welfare numbers into the mainstream. And that's something the Democrats did not expect. It put SNAP front and center, and suddenly the entire country saw just how bloated, unmonitored, and politically abused the system has become. And when the facts came out, the people were shocked at how many millions of welfare recipients were taking advantage of a system. And now the free ride is coming to an end. If you're an able-bodied adult, you are going to have to start earning your keep. Sounds fair to me. Not because anybody wants to be cruel, but because this is what responsibility looks like. And one of the first places they're starting is by removing people who aren't citizens, which brings me to this next clip. Take a listen.
The fight over federal food support is once again pitting Minnesota against the Trump administration. Attorney General Keith Ellison is joining nearly 24 other states, suing the Trump administration over changes to SNAP or food stamps. This lawsuit focuses on who is eligible for food assistance. Ashley Graham's read through the lawsuit tonight. So, Ashley, what'd you find?
Well, Frank, Democratic attorneys general are leading this effort against the federal government, accusing the USDA of blocking some legal immigrants from receiving SNAP benefits. Attorney General Keith Ellison says this Thanksgiving he's wrapped up in a lawsuit.
Here we are on the eve of this important American holiday. We're fighting to keep food on the table of people who are in our country lawfully and who are entitled to these benefits.
Filed every lawsuit regarding SNAP.
On Wednesday, Ellison, alongside 21 other Democratic attorneys general, filed a lawsuit against the federal government over guidance issued by the USDA about SNAP benefits. Ellison claims that guidance wrongfully denies food assistance to some legal immigrants, including permanent residents admitted as refugees or given asylum.
The law is clear. Refugees and other vulnerable legal immigrants become eligible for SNAP once they obtain their green cards and meet other program requirements. If Trump doesn't like the law, he's welcome to try to change it through the normal, usual legal means.
A spokesperson for the White House said in a statement President Trump was elected with a resounding mandate to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government, which includes ensuring that illegal aliens are not receiving benefits intended for American citizens. Guidance from the USDA was issued late last month, months after the One Big Beautiful Bill Act was approved by Congress. That new law limits eligibility for some non-citizens. But the lawsuit filed today claims USDA guidance, quote, goes beyond the act, arbitrarily excluding from SNAP many lawful permanent residents who remain eligible.
Yeah, so you heard that. And notice what they didn't say. They didn't mention how many of those people were in the system for years with no real oversight. They didn't mention that Minnesota is the same state that let hundreds of millions in fraud slide by, including welfare scams, child care scams, feeding our future, and now SNAP. Minnesota is what happens when you have no checks, no balances, and no accountability. And you want to know why so many blue states are now trying to sue the Trump administration. It's not because they care about hungry families. Let's get that out in the open right now. It's because an audit would expose everything they allowed to happen under their watch. Democrats spent years pretending everything was fine because they needed the votes. And now the books are being opened and they're terrified. So now the Trump administration has moved to the next step, halting federal dollars to states that refuse to hand over the data. If you want the money, you're going to have to be accountable for where it goes. Sounds like a common sense approach to me. Let's take a look.
We have so much great things to talk about at USDA, but the third thing, which became very much a part of the national conversation during the Democrat shutdown, was SNAP reform, food stamp reform. When all of America saw what so many of us know and have been working on, but when you have so much rampant fraud in a program that 42 million Americans participate in, now a big good piece of news that I hope is written about, since you became president, about 800,000 of those 42 million have moved off of food stamps, which is hopefully the plan, with better jobs, higher wages, etc. But still, when we found 186,000 dead people's Social Security numbers being used, 500,000 people receiving benefits more than twice. We had a couple of people receiving benefits in 6 states. In February of this year, we asked for all the states for the first time to turn over their data to the federal government, to let the USDA partner with them to root out this fraud, to make sure that those who really need food stamps are getting them, but also to ensure that the American taxpayer is protected. 21 states said yes, not surprised. 29 states said yes, not surprisingly, the red states, and that's where all of that data, that fraud comes from. But 21 states, including California, New York, and Minnesota, the blue states, continue to say no. So as of next week, we have begun and will begin to stop moving federal funds into those states until they comply and they tell us and allow us to partner with them to root out this fraud and to protect the American taxpayer. As Joe Biden was working to buy an election a year ago, he increased food stamp program funding by 40%. So now as we continue to roll that back. So the partnership in Making America Healthy Again is also in food stamps, but a lot of what Bobby and I are doing together is really remarkable.
Yeah, listen, glad to see it's getting done. Sounds completely reasonable to me. If these states don't want to work with the federal government to clean up a fraudulent system, if they want to take taxpayer dollars while hiding who receives them, then cut them off until they get serious. Because the only people who fear accountability are the people who know exactly what an audit would reveal. And this is why the new requirements are necessary, and they aren't extreme. They're just common sense. And so let's break down what these new rules actually are and when they kick in. But before I explain them, take a listen.
New rules tonight on requirements for federal food assistance that just took effect today and will impact millions of SNAP recipients. Thanks for watching San Diego Right Now at 7. Good to have you with us, everybody. I'm Stephanie Simmons. Recipients now have to meet new requirements for work in order to keep their benefits. CBS 8's Alex Cheney joins us live from the Feeding San Diego headquarters tonight. And Alex, there are more than 400,000 people who get CalFresh benefits here in San Diego County alone. What do those people need to know?
Well, Stephanie, as part of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill that was passed this summer, it's going to require more people to be able to work to receive the same benefits as they did before. Also, previously exempt groups are going to have to go back to work as well, which some here at Feeding San Diego say create new barriers to food assistance. It's another busy day at Feeding San Diego.
Removing certain individuals.
Sam Duke says their demand has gone up by 20% since July, and now with expanded SNAP benefit work requirements, that demand may go up even more.
It'll create barriers for those on SNAP benefits, and that may require them to turn to nonprofits like ourselves to access additional food resources.
The so-called One Big Beautiful Bill that was passed this summer expands the age limit for able-bodied people to receive benefits from 18 to 54 up to now 64. It also requires recipients to work a total of 80 hours a month, do 20 hours of community service a month, or be a part of a work education program. It also removes groups that were previously exempt from work requirements.
Homeless, veterans, as well as youth aging out of foster care. So again, new barriers that these community members may have to face.
These are all very common sense reforms.
State Assemblyman Carl DeMaio says the expanded work requirements are common sense changes and is a better way for those receiving benefits to improve their lives and eventually get off welfare.
It's all about challenging people who are getting public assistance to improve their lot so they don't have to be on the dole, on the taxpayer expense.
Carl says those receiving federal benefits should have to help the taxpayers they're benefiting from.
All they have to do is get a job, go and volunteer in the community, or go to school. Are you telling me that people should not be required to at least give something back in exchange for public taxpayer-funded welfare?
Yeah, exactly. You see what I mean? They act like asking able-bodied adults to work 20 hours a week is some kind of human rights violation. I mean, let's go through the requirements. If you're 18 to 64 and able-bodied, you must work, volunteer, or be in training 80 hours a month. I mean, can we be serious? That's not a lot. But listen, if you miss 3 months while meeting the requirements, you can be removed from SNAP for up to 3 years. Look, even with these rules in place, there's still room for fraud. I mean, I can see it already how it could happen. If somebody wants to scam a system, they'll always try. But the goal is not to make it as easy as possible. The goal is to actually stop letting people walk in the front door with zero verification and zero intention of ever working. And honestly, if you're taking taxpayer-funded assistance, you should be required to go give something back, volunteer, clean up your community, help a shelter, serve at a food bank, do something. That's not cruelty. That's just respect for the people who are funding your benefits. And that brings me to a bigger point. A lot of people are going to have to get off their phones, make some moves, and stop acting like certain jobs are beneath them. If you're on government assistance, there is no job that's too good for you. If you want to move up, pick up a skill, learn a trade, get into the blue collar work, because those opportunities are out there. People keep waiting on the government to hand them a miracle the same way it handed them a check. It doesn't work like that. Government checks don't build lives. Skills do.
Mike, AI is getting a lot of blame for people losing their white collar jobs. Is AI affecting blue collar jobs?
I think it's affecting everything. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but I thought of you a week or two ago. I was in Plano, Texas, and I got a tour of a data center. And we hear so much about these things, but I'd never really walked through one before. And while I was in there, I ran into a couple of electricians, all of whom had been poached 3 times in the last year, all of whom were making north of $240,000 a year. Whoa. That's the nature of the demand for electricians right now. These guys were all under 30, by the way. So yes, AI is impacting them in one way. It's impacting coders in another way. The piece you just did, Edward, talking about energy is obviously spot on. Right next to those rare earths are these polymetallic nodules and underwater mining and the hundreds of thousands of jobs that are going to be created in that industry alone no one's talking about. This is a wildly complicated, fluid situation, and AI is going to touch all of it.
AI replaces white-collar jobs, but AI enhances blue-collar jobs. It makes a blue-collar job more efficient. Would you agree with that?
I'd say it's very ironic because for 17 years in my foundation, all I heard was the robots are coming to take the welders, right? Well, no, actually. Everything is evolving a bit, but right now, from where I'm sitting, the most security I can find in the workforce is in the classic trade jobs. Alex Karp talks about this all the time, and the headlines have caught up to his message as well over at Palantir. It's just an extraordinary confluence of things that I think is redefining the job market and the definition of a practical education.
Yeah, so listen, this cleanup isn't an attack, it's a correction. For 4 years, the Biden administration turned a blind eye to waste, fraud, and abuse, all to keep a certain voting bloc happy. They didn't want audits, they didn't want transparency, they didn't want anyone asking real questions. But now the truth is coming out, the books are being opened, and the free ride is over. If you're an able-bodied adult, you're expected to contribute. If you're not a citizen, you can't drain a system Americans pay for. If your state refuses to cooperate, federal dollars will stop flowing. That's not cruelty. That's governance. That's adult leadership. That's protecting taxpayers and protecting the truly needy. Guys, but let me hear back from you. Drop your comments down below. As always, the best way you can show your support is by smashing that thumbs up. That tells me you like the video, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this.